So popular is beer, the world's best-selling alcoholic drink, that it is often taken for granted. Yet, scientific analysis shows that a glass of beer has within it as many aromas and flavors as a fine wine. Not everyone understands this, but an increasing number of people do. In an age when more people work at computers than in coal mines, the thirst for beer is changing. There's a trend towards drinking less, but tasting more. This is shown in the choice of beers now available, from the aromatic original Golden Pilsner lager of Bohemia in the Czech Republic, to the tart, hazy wheat beers of Bavaria and Berlin, the rich orange or chocolate-colored Trappist brews of Belgium, to the soothing copper ales of Britain, the dry black stouts of Dublin and Cork, to the hoppy amber specialties of Boston and New York. Great flavors from the Sierras and Seattle to Sapporo in Sydney. You might be surprised at how many of these beers are finding their way into your local supermarket or specialty beer store. To track down those that remain elusive, a beer hunting vacation might be in order. Not every beer tastes best by the pint. Many of the beers in this book have their own goblets and chalices, saucers and flutes. Never before has such an array been photographed and described. How should these brews taste? Why do they taste that way? How and when might they best be enjoyed? I've spent years probing the mysteries of malt, the magic of hops. Now you can see for yourself and learn in the pages that follow. Come with me, inhale the aromas, taste the flavors, enjoy the world's greatest beers, and some of the most unusual. Hello, and welcome to Beering in Mind Beer Reviews. Every 50 beers or so, every 50 beer reviews, I try to do a beer book review, and we are at 250. Actually, I did 100 beer reviews before I did the first beer book review, but we are now at book review number 4, and this one is by probably the all-time top beer writer, and he may continue in that capacity or in that honor for years and years and years and years. His name is Michael Jackson, and the book is called Ultimate Beer. And Michael Jackson is certainly the ultimate beer writer. Just the sheer quality of his prose, the coverage, the extent of his knowledge, nobody has ever topped it. And there are a number of good beer writers with great beer books out there, but Michael Jackson was one of the first and is the best, absolutely. And this is only one of his books. It's published by Dorling, Kindersley, DK, who they publish a lot of visually attractive books that make learning about a subject very easy because of the visual quality of the books and the layout, the graphic design of the books. And Michael Jackson wrote for many years. He was also a whiskey writer. In fact, his Malt Whiskey Companion is probably still the best-selling whiskey book in the world. He wrote a number of books about beer, Beer Companion, Belgian Beer Companion. He started out quite young as a journalist in England, and he worked with the Independent and the Observer. And apparently when he was quite young, he pitched an idea to the editors and just saying, I want to write about the pub, the English pub. And that caught on and was successful. And from then, he just took off. So, unfortunately, he died in 2007, much too young. He had Parkinson's disease, and apparently he tried to keep it, under wraps until people started saying, are you drunk or what? And he finally, said, no, I have Parkinson's, and he died, unfortunately. If he was around now, what would he have made of the beer scene? The way it's expanded just in the 13 years since then. So, this book is divided into several sections, and we're going to look at each one really briefly. What I'd like to do is just give you a quick sample of his prose, the way he wrote, and just how beautifully he wrote. A lot of journalists, with the practice they get, some really get a good sense of English prose style, solid sentences, variety, and Michael Jackson certainly had that. He is called the Beer Hunter, and in fact he has a video series called The Beer Hunter, which you can find in various formats. I had it on a series of floppy disks a long time ago. I'm sorry, no, on CDs. So, all right. So, in any case, let's take a quick look at this beer book. He has several sections. I said the attractiveness of the design. The photographs are just absolutely stunning. If that doesn't make you thirsty, I don't know what will. And so all the beers are done with their own glassware. So glassware from the company that made the beer. Just beautiful photographs and little descriptions of each one. So what he does here is he has different sections, and the first section is what makes a great beer, and he talks about where a beer is made. So in winemaking they have the idea of a terroir, where the special components from the climate or the ground, the temperature of that area that really go into making a good wine. And the same is true in some sense for beer, not all. He talks about grains that are used, hops, other flavorings, and water and yeast. What makes a great beer? What makes a great beer? The tests of a good beer are aroma, flavor, and finish. Beer is made principally from malted grains, water, hops, and yeast. But there's no point in using these ingredients if the result tastes like fizzy alcoholic water. As a great beer is enjoyed, its character seems to develop so that the drinker notices new flavors and finds constant interest. Nor do the flavors suddenly vanish. The drinker looks forward to the beer, enjoys the experience, and is left with a lingering memory of it. A good beer delivers the style it promises on the label. If it says Pilsner, wheat beer, ale, or stout, it truly has the characteristics of that style. The next section he talks about is, and that's the main component of the book, where he discusses each individual beer. He talks about it in terms of beers for the moment. So not necessarily in terms of the style of the beer so much, but when it might be best appreciated. So he talks about seasonal beers for spring, summer, etc. And then sociable beers or thirst quenchers, restorative beers or aperitifs, beers that go well. So it's kind of an unusual and interesting way of classifying beer. Then the next section is beer and food, talking about how we can use beer and pair it with food, of course, which is a big thing among beer geeks. And then cooking with beer as well. So these different sections are designed to give you an overall view of the beer. He doesn't spend so much time on the history of beer or how beer is made, which many beer books tend to do a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm going to read to you from some of these sections, and I hope you enjoy that as well, the great prose he had. Okay, Michael Jackson, R.I.P. Nobody will ever write as well as you did. Thank you very much. Ultimate Beer by Michael Jackson. Beers for the moment. Many people think beer is merely a refresher, but such consumers may not know the world's most quenching, cooling brews. And what about the winter warmers for a cold night? Others believe that the purpose of beer is to intoxicate, but it is very inefficient in this respect. The average strength of beer worldwide is about half of that of wine, and a tenth that of spirits. Some beers are sociable relaxants, others restoratives after work or exercise. Nothing arouses the appetite like a really hoppy beer. Other brews especially suit certain foods. After dinner, with a cigar, a single malt scotch, or a very strong, rich, calming beer. With a book at bedtime? As the following pages will demonstrate, there's a beer for each of these moments and many more. Beer and food. Choose the right beer, and you have one of the world's great aperitifs, more effective in this respect than even dry sherry or champagne. Although wine is a fine accompaniment to good food, many dishes are better illuminated by beer. Starters such as asparagus, scrambled eggs, smoked salmon or sausages, spicy dishes, and many ethnic foods. And chocolate desserts are just a few examples. Some of these are among the items that might be found in a brasserie, French for brewery, but the term has come to mean a certain style of restaurant. The first brasseries were taverns attached to breweries. Their eclectic approach to dining is mirrored in contemporary lunch spots from London to New York and Tokyo to Sydney. Small wonder that interesting selections of beer are increasingly nudging the wine list.